Hey guys, so I saw in a comment that you guys wanted like a video about bringing my dog to Korea. What's the process like? How did that go? So I will do a portion of the video and then Andrew can do the other portion because I didn't personally bring her over. And like disclaimer, you're not supposed to bring a pet to Korea if you're an EPIK teacher. Literally, like in the application, there's a series of yes or no questions, and like one of the statements says like something along the line of like, I will not bring a pet or animal to like Korea. There's a couple of reasons why they don't want you bringing a pet to Korea. Well, first off, one, you don't even know what apartment you're living in unless you're lucky enough that the previous EPIK teacher told you where you're living. Two, during orientation, you're living in a college dorm. You don't know if your roommate's okay with having a pet over, and like when you're bringing everything in, they're gonna realize you have a pet carrier. And then if somehow you like snuck that through, I don't know how, but if you do, how are you gonna take care of your pet? Because literally, like during orientation, your day is like set. There's a whole schedule. You don't really have time to come back and really play with your dog. Like maybe give it a meal and then go, or like you can't really take the time to take it out and take care and give them love and affection. So there are 3 things you're gonna need. 1, the rabies vaccines and titer test. 2, microchip. And 3, the health certificate. So first thing, the vaccine. So Korea is a rabies free country, so you definitely need to make sure that your dog is rabies free. I mean, obviously they're not gonna have it, but Korea doesn't know that, so they need a titer test to be done. So for me, my dog had a series of 3 rabies vaccines before coming over, I think. And the test lab results, they can't be done just like in any other vet. They have to be done in a specific laboratory. There's like a set of approved labs, and your vet will know. They will know who to send it out to. You just gotta tell them like why you need a titer test. You gotta tell them where your dog is going, and like they will look up the requirements needed. The titer test takes a month to get done, and you definitely want the vet to have a copy and then for yourself to have a copy. Second thing, you're gonna need your dog to be microchipped, so it needs to be ISO compliant. The vet will know what that means, but basically, like if your dog's ever lost and like someone is nice enough to send it to a vet or somewhere, the dog's head will get scanned, or like neck area, and then they'll know who the owner is and who to contact. And then 3, the health certificate. So you need to get this, I think, 10 days before you're traveling, and you need to get it endorsed. I knew I needed a health certificate, but I didn't know it needs to be endorsed. So Andrew took care of that. Things that you need on a flight: you need an animal carrier, and you need, when you buy your ticket, you have to call the airline and let them know, like, well, first off, our pet, well, hopefully when you bought the ticket, you knew their pets were allowed or not. And then you gotta call to make sure that, hello, do they have room for your dog? Because if not, your dog's going in a cargo. And I don't know if you don't want your dog in a cargo, because if you, I mean, it's kind of sad. Like they're alone and cold or hot, and like it's just lonely and sad. So I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend in cabin, but you can't do anything about it if your dog's too big. So your dog and the carrier together has to be under 7 kilograms typically. So it has to be basically under 15 pounds. The carrier cannot be taller than 10 inches, and it has to fit in front of the seat. In the seat in front of you, under, like basically where you usually put your personal item, like your backpack, briefcase, purse, whatever. Obviously you need food, snacks, water bottle for your dog, a toy or a blanket to comfort your dog, because it is pretty stressful for them. Andrew can tell you about that whole flight experience because he flew her over. Usually there's an extra fee, and like there's a limited amount of space. Usually I think there's like only 1 dog allowed per cabin. So you definitely want to like book that in advance, and it can range between $100 USD or $200 USD depending on the flight for the pet fee. Anyway, you can get all this stuff done, but like you definitely want to know, obviously, like before all of this, it's like you got to know if your dog is allowed. And like I did this in case like it's expensive, you know, like you don't know if your dog's gonna be allowed to be here or not. So luckily for me, dogs are allowed in my apartment, but like the girl before me told me like, oh, I don't think pets are allowed. But then I was moving to a different apartment, so she was like, I don't know, like maybe the new apartment will let you. And luckily for me, they do. Basically, after I moved in, we contacted management, or my co-teacher helped me contact management to ask if dogs are okay, and preferably no, but they were like, well, if you have a dog, it's okay as long as they're quiet and they don't damage the apartment. So I contacted Andrew, and then that's when he knew to do the health certificate. But like I did the rabies, the microchip, and the titer test. But yeah, Andrew took care of the health certificate because obviously you had to do it 10 days before. And I can't bring the dog because orientation and everything.
Right, so what was it like bringing a dog on a plane? Well, I can tell you that it was no picnic, especially because I did not take a one-way flight. I had multiple transfers that I had to deal with, but honestly, the transfers were kind of a good thing and kind of a bad thing because I was able to have our dog be able to walk around for a little bit before being crammed into a small carry-on box, basically. Our dog was pretty stressed out for the most part. She didn't really want to eat or drink just because of the conditions she was in. But as soon as we landed, she was totally fine. She was super excited to see her mom. And, you know, we got her to eat, we got her to drink, and everything was fine. To go over to Korea, I did take Air Canada, and they do allow pets in the cabin, which was a huge plus. And yeah, you do need to mention to them that you will be bringing a pet along and then pay the extra fee in order to get your pet on board. So basically your pet has to buy his or her own, or really you have to buy his or her own little airline ticket, which is kind of cute if you think about it, but also not so good if you're strapped on cash. But, you know, these fees can range anywhere between like $50 to $150, sometimes even $200. But in my case, it was only $100 to bring Isabel over. The biggest tip that I can give to you if you are trying to bring your dog over to South Korea, or just in general, is to make sure you pick the very last row of your flight. And there's a specific reason for that. So typically on most flights, the very last row is going to be a 2-seater row instead of a 3-seater row. And so you will have a pretty large space next to you if you do decide to take the window seat, which you definitely should. You will have a very large space next to you where I was actually able to place Isabel's carrier. The stewardesses had a problem with it at first, but then I talked it over with sort of the shift manager, I guess. I'm not really sure what you call them, but we talked it over and I just said, well, I'm just going to keep her right here. She's not underneath the seat in front of me. However, you know, there's nobody next to me and also no one behind me. And so once I talked that over with them, they were totally fine with her being there. And I probably shouldn't mention this, but I did actually let her walk around quite a bit. So basically, I blocked it off from where I was sitting up into the very wall of the plane. And I just opened up her carrier and she was just able to walk in like a little 2x2 square, if you will. We'll go back to the video now.
But anyway, I hope that was helpful. Probably not, because like the determining factor is, does your apartment even let dogs? And like hopefully like the co-teacher before you can ask them. They usually contact you a couple weeks before orientation. So if you like know for sure you want to bring your dog, you definitely need to get the microchip done, and you want to do the rabies vaccine like a couple months before. And then the health certificate, that is the most expensive part. So If you can find that part out, it'd be great. Yeah, I don't know where I went with that, but yeah. You gotta find out if your apartment lets it or not, because otherwise it's all wasted. So, thanks for watching.